Hello, folks. Welcome to Scratch the Surface. I'm EJ Scott. Today, my guest is John Lutz, the hilarious John Lutz. He is a writer and an actor, and even more importantly, he's an improviser. And that's how I know him best, is from the improv world. And we only met once before this interview years ago, and I was really improv starstruck to meet him. But we talk about a lot of things. He was so nice to take some time out of his work day. I actually met him at his work. He works at Late Night with Seth Myers at 30 Rockefeller Center in New York City. And he was kind enough to take some time out and talk with me. So you know John from 30 Rock, if you've watched 30 Rock. He was on that. He also was kind of on Saturday Night Live years ago, but mostly he was a writer for it. But, you know, sometimes they let writers have a line here or there. And we talk about how Donald Trump hosted Saturday Night Live when he was there and what that was like. We talk about Tina Fey asking him to be on 30 Rock. We talk about working at the Seth Myers show and what that's like. We talk about Chicago and improv, his family and his background, and growing up in a religious family. And we have a lot of good laughs. We have a good time talking. And I learned a lot about John, and I'm sure you will as well. And it's a kind of an older one. It's been a while since I talked to him, so this was a treat though, because the day after I talked to John, I talked to Brian Stack, who works over at the Colbert Late Show, and he's a great improviser too and a great guy. So I had a great couple days talking to these improv masters. So we also talk about improv, of course, and all that good stuff. So this isn't, like I said, a slightly old now, but it's from April 12th, 2018. And enjoy my talk with John Lutz.
It's been a long time since we've seen each other.
Yeah, I'm happy you remembered me.
Oh, of course.
Because actually, you get to just jump right in?
Sure.
We met at one of those parties,
yeah,
like a SAG party.
Yeah.
That I think it was thrown by HBO or something like that.
I think you're right. I think it was HBO one.
Yeah, because my girlfriend was on HBO, so that would make sense.
Was it Spago?
Maybe.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was after the award show, and it was a smaller one of those parties.
Yeah, it was nice.
And it was nice, yeah. And there were a lot of it was like a lot of Second City people from 30 Rock, at least,
right,
that were all there, because I think Scott Adsit was there, and McBrayer was there, maybe not McBrayer, but I know that, yeah, it was kind of like,
yeah, I remember Nathan Fillion was there.
Yeah,
I think I saw Michael C. Hall.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. Who else was? Catherine O'Hare, I think, might have been at that one.
Ooh, I did not get to see her.
Because she was in the HBO. Was it Temple Grandin?
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a while ago, though. That was like maybe
ago.
4 or 5 years ago? Maybe
even
least, longer.
At least. But it was nice because I saw you and I had never met you before. But you were eating with your wife.
Yeah.
And I decided to interrupt you.
Yes. Yeah.
and I said, hello, my name's EJ, and I'm an improviser. And then you immediately got up, which was really nice.
Yeah, the second you say that, yeah. And you were in Chicago at the time, right? Or were you just come back from Chicago?
I had just come back.
Yeah.
I had just come back from Chicago. I think, unless we're going way back, in which case I could have still been there.
Right.
But I was there from 08 to 11 in Chicago.
Yeah.
But I've been improvising for like 20 years.
Yeah.
All over, you know.
Yeah.
But does that happen to you a lot? Do you go to like things like this and improvisers like myself? Because improvisers are getting writing jobs and acting jobs all over the place, so they're popping up all over. Do they recognize you and go, oh, I'm an improviser too?
Yeah.
And then do you go, oh, God?
No. No, anytime. It does happen sometimes. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it always is good because there's an immediate connection there.
Yeah.
And especially if it's somebody from either the UCB area in New York or from Chicago, it's immediate you can start talking about it and immediately be on the same page.
Yeah.
So that's always nice. And it's fun, too, because there are still a lot of people I know in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So it's fun to hear people who know the same people, but from a different time period of their lives, like where I wasn't around for that part of their. But when you can still the person hasn't changed that much, right? It's kind of fun. Yeah,
like Noah Gregoropoulos,
yeah, exactly.
Or Susan or something like that. Do you miss Chicago?
I do.
Do you get to go back ever?
I haven't gone back in. We did. The last time I was there was for Stolen House. I don't know if you know about that. Yeah, the improv.
TJ and Ted
Pasquazi and
Linda, right?
It was Stephanie Weir and Bob Dassey and Adsit.
I'm thinking of another show. I know what you're talking about. This is so interesting because you guys just go on a stage where where there's already a play like
this. We use the set that's already there,
right? And
then we do our show after their show's over.
That's so. I never got to see it. Are you guys doing more of that?
We are not at the moment because we haven't. The thing about it that's hard is that Bob Dassey and Stephanie Weir are in L.A. Right. TJ and Dave are in Chicago, and Adsit and I are here. So it's very hard to organize. Yeah. We did 2 runs. We did one run in Chicago and one run here in New York. And we had a couple times where we rehearsed, but we never really got to rehearse as much as we wanted, and I think that was a key to it not happening anymore because we wanted to be something more than it was, and the only way to do that was rehearsal, and then we just could never get our schedules together. But the shows that we did were really awesome, and it was a lot of fun. And that was probably 3 years ago that I was in Chicago doing that. We did it at the Victory Gardens Theater, I believe.
Okay. What was the play?
What was the play? I don't remember. The set was just it was like a kitchen set. Uh-huh. So it had 2 different doors, like one that would go outside and one that led to the rest of the house. And then like a refrigerator and a sink and a window. And it was a nice set. And I think the first show we did was probably our best show, I thought. Arguably, and it was about a family whose parents had just passed away, and they're figuring out what to do with the house.
Okay. Do you get a suggestion?
No, we just used the space.
Okay.
And it was just, it was one of those things that everything fell into place, and everybody locked into their characters and the dynamics of it, and actually seemed like it was a 2-act play.
Yeah. 2 acts, so you take a break?
Yeah.
How long does it go? Is it like 2 hours?
It's no. I think each act is about 45 minutes, maybe a little shorter for the second act.
Okay.
And in between, we would talk about not what to do, but just like what the themes were, so that we could try to thematically tie things up in the second act. But that wouldn't always happen, of course, because it's improv.
Whose idea was the show?
The idea was Stephen Ruddy. Do you know Stephen? He does Gravid Water.
Yeah.
He does Gravid Water, and he came up with the idea and basically saw that Scott and I did a 2-person show, Stephanie Weir and Bob Dassey did a 2-person show, and then TJ and Dave did a 2-person show, and he's like, he liked all 3 of those shows and thought it would be great to get the 6 of us together to do this project. And it was fun because it's the best. They're the best improvisers around. So it was very fun.
That's too bad. It's hard to manage,
Yeah, it's hard because it's one of those things where it's not. I mean, we made a little money, but it's the kind of thing that isn't enough money to. It's not a job, so you can't really. It's hard to get out of other work to go. I mean, that's improv because it's you're never getting paid to do it.
No.
And we wanted it to be really, really, really good, and so it just wasn't getting. It was good. It just needed to be elevated, and for that, we needed to kind of hone in on it a little bit more.
Yeah. And you weren't always planning on being an improviser. I read that you went to school. You were studying psychology and minoring in business.
Yeah. Well, the business minor was mostly because I didn't know what to be, so I went with business because that's kind of what everybody did.
Generic,
Where it was like that's the one you go to if you didn't have any ideas. And then I almost flunked out of business school.
Why?
Because I just hated it.
You're great.
And I also partied a lot in college, so there was one semester where I didn't show up to my class, one of my classes, enough. I basically, if I would have shown up to the final and got an A on the final, I still would have gotten an F in the class because I missed so many assignments and missed so much of it. So that was like the turning point semester because I got a 0.9 GPA that semester, and then...
What year is that?
That was my junior year. Okay. Or, I think it was my junior year. And then switched majors to... then I went into communications for one semester. And that's even the really more generic version of business. And then went into psychology.
Okay.
But then I went an extra semester. So I went 4.5 years.
What's funny, the psychology, you're like... like, what were you thinking, like, with psychology?
Well, psychology, I finally was... With psychology, it was one of those things that I actually had an interest in it.
Okay.
So I was kind of turning my life around in figuring out what I liked. So psychology, I finally found, was something that I would actually read the books and go to class. Mm-hmm. And then... in that same time period was when I started taking a couple acting classes and did a couple plays my senior year of college.
Okay. And then you used your psychology on yourself to realize you wanted to
motivate me to not be a psychologist.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. I think the psychology, because Valparaiso University didn't have you couldn't major in theater.
Okay.
So. And I came to it real late. I was very lucky I went to a smaller school because I was able to actually get parts in plays, where most universities, if you aren't doing the smaller stuff all the way through, you're not going to get a lead or not a lead, but a bigger part other than moving scenery around. So I lucked out that they didn't have a lot of character actors at my school.
And then did you fall for it right away? And
that was, I had always loved theater. I did it in high school.
Okay.
And I always loved comedy, and I loved it. I just thought that you couldn't make a career of it.
Right.
So I tried to be responsible, and in that respect, I really failed.
Yeah.
Because my parents, you can say I want to get a business degree, and that your parents understand that, and I understood that. But to say I want to be an actor is a weird thing.
Because they're paying, right?
They're paying for it.
So they're like, business, I'll get my money back with a business degree.
So I had to call my parents my last year. It was the summer between my senior year and my second senior year, and tell them that I was going to move right afterwards to go to do Second City classes. And I wrote like a 5-year plan of how I was going to be on a main stage in 5 years and all of this. And I practiced it, and I called them and like read off my sheet. Yeah. And my mom was nervous. She said, well, why don't you just give it a year and see if you can... And then if it doesn't work, you can go back.
Your 1-year plan?
Yeah, my 1-year plan. And I said, well, a year really isn't long enough to get any momentum going. Yeah. And my dad was the best because my dad said, well, it sounds like you've thought it through. And there are things that I regret that I never did. So I want you not to live with regret. Go do it, and we support you.
That's interesting.
That was very, that helped a lot.
Yeah. What do you think he regretted?
I don't know. I know that my dad's a pastor, so there's not a lot that he regrets. He never really told me what that was, but I do know that things that my dad now is 72 or 73, 70-ish, early 70s.
Yeah.
And just this past year, he went skydiving because it's one of those things he's always wanted to do.
Okay.
And he's taken pilot's lessons now, flying. It's like things. So I think it might be things like that where he's just, I'm too old. I'll never learn to fly.
What if his regrets were like, should never had children?
Yeah, should never have had children. I don't want to be a pastor. I want to be a chef. No, I don't know. I never really asked him what specifically he was talking about.
Were you ever curious about that?
I was. But I think I also think I was more self-centered and focused on my own panic of talking to my parents about it that I really didn't. I was just a self-absorbed 21-year-old at the time. And still now I'm a self-absorbed 44-year-old.
Almost 45.
Yes, that's true. It's coming
birthday coming up. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
How you feeling?
Good. It's weird.
Yeah.
I still feel like, because where I work, writing comedy, you still feel young.
Like a child.
Yeah, and you're also surrounded by people who are children.
Yeah.
There's people I work with that are 20 years younger than me, so that helps me both feel old and feel young at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, I had to. We were just talking about. Is it Cardi B?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was on SNL last weekend.
Yep.
And then she also guest hosted. She's pregnant. She guest hosted The Tonight Show. Yeah. And I sound like the oldest man talking about Cardi. Because for a while I was calling her Cardi D.
Right.
And they kept going, it's a B. It's B. And it's just, I'm a dad. I'm bad.
That's funny.
But it is, I still, wear sneakers to work and jeans, and
it's pretty sweet.
It's pretty sweet. That's the biggest perk, is that I get to wear sneakers. But also, I feel like I'm a goofball, so I don't really ever feel.
I know. I'm 42. And I'm like, I don't feel 42.
No, and 42 weird. Is not old. That's the weird thing. Because when I looked at my parents and they're 40 years old, I remember when my dad turned 40, we had a big over the hill party.
Yeah.
It's like, over the hill, 40 is nothing. And now when I look at my parents who are 70, they're old, but they're still, like my dad went skydiving. And they're still doing a lot of stuff. So it's that weird thing of 70 isn't as old as I thought it was when I was, in my 20s.
70's the new
70's 45? The new 45. Oh, hopefully. And then 90 will be the new 70.
Yeah.
But my grandparents both lived, on my dad's side, lived till they were in their 90s. So
that's good.
Yeah.
What did your mom work, or was she a stay-at-home? Because you have three siblings.
Yeah, I have. I'm the oldest, and then my mom's a teacher. And when she had me, she basically was a stay-at-home mom until my youngest brother, who's 10 years younger than me, started going back to school. So for 13 years she was stay-at-home mom, and then when he went into preschool, she went back to teaching preschool at the school that he was going to go to. So she taught at the school that was connected to our church. So then she was there with him, and then when he started going through school, she just remained a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, until she retired.
Is everybody pretty religious in your family?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say so. I'm probably the least.
That's because you're in comedy.
That's right. I know. That's it. It's true. But it's weird because they are all very, like, my sister's husband is my sister's husband is a principal at a Lutheran grade school. She is their family's very religious. My brother is in Germany. My brother Joel is in Germany. He works for GM, or used to work for GM, but now works for, I think it's Opel or whatever the German version of GM is. He's an engineer. But he goes to an international church in Germany that's a bunch of expatriates from every country, and it's just a big international, huge, the kind of thing with rock band playing, and the church service is 2.5 hours long. Wow. It's a big thing. And then my brother Jeremy is a teacher, but a public school teacher with his wife. They're both public school teachers, but they started up their own church with their friends.
They started their own church.
They wanted a church that was closer to where they lived, so they started up their own church.
Wow.
Which I don't even know how you would do, but they did. So they're all very, very religious.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Do you find that kind of divides you a little bit from them?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a little... You can feel a little bit of or I do feel a little bit of a different connection. The weird thing is that we don't ever... Our family talks about religion, but we're very Midwestern in a way that's... We don't talk about our emotions, kind of thing.
Sure.
We don't talk about politics in our family, rarely ever. And then in religious stuff, it's we rarely get into it. I've had conversations with my dad, about certain things.
Trump?
We kind of have talked about Trump a little bit.
I assume some of your family.
Yeah, I'm
Trump,
assuming. Right? I don't really know who, and I don't want to find out.
Because they must be like, watch your show and go, what?
Yeah, they know they know which way we lean, and they know that I voted for Hillary, so they know there's some things that they just can't. I think they don't want to find out about me, and I don't want to find out about them.
Right. But that's right, because on your Twitter, I don't know if they're on Twitter or anything.
I don't think they know what that is.
No, not your parents, but like your siblings or whatever. But you post stuff on Twitter that's very liberal-minded.
Yes. Yeah, I think I think my family is liberal, except for a few things that they are very have strong feelings about. So I don't think they're
gays and Muslims or
it's
something.
mostly it's not even to that. I think it's homosexuality, and I think it's abortion, and those are big ones.
Yeah.
I think other religions, I think my dad is very open to other people's religions. And my dad is very open in general, but there are just certain things like that are core beliefs that they can't.
Yeah.
And they are, I think that, my mom is anti-gun.
Okay.
And we had that was one of our biggest conversations recently about the gun violence that was happening. And how she just can't understand it and all that. And it's just, we were talking about it, and it's like, but the people that you're voting into representation are the same people who are allowing this to...
they're enabling it.
Yes. And so they're not voting... I don't know for sure, but I feel like they're not voting for those issues.
Right.
And those issues come along with who they vote for.
Right. That's tough. Yeah. That's tough. Do you? I mean, like in my family, most of my family voted Trump. Mm-hmm. So I've. It's been, and that's not the only reason I'm having issues with my own family, but but it certainly is like
it's a big one.
It's a big one.
Yeah,
it's certainly a big one.
Sue's family, my wife Sue's family is also. I think some of them voted for Trump, but I think some of them didn't. So I think they're more of a political type. They talk about it a little bit more, but I think they also put like a stop on Trump talk after the election, because I think everybody just gets a little too heated.
Yeah.
So
I have to just ignore everything.
Yeah.
Because my brother-in-law has he can't not say things.
Right.
And sometimes it's like, oh my God, I just can't. It's like Fox News just came to life in my in my presence.
That's hard too when it's a brother-in-law, because it's not.
Yeah.
It's different if it's a sibling. Right. I think because then you have a little bit more of a understanding of how to communicate with each other. But when it's somebody else who's been brought into your family, there's a little, you can't.
There's a lot of
you can't attack it as much.
There's a lot of problems with it. Was it hard growing up so religious?
No, because I didn't know any different.
Yeah,
and
you're from Minnesota.
I was born in Minnesota, and then lived in Northbrook, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, for a while, and then in '84 moved to Michigan, where my parents still live.
In Detroit.
Outside of Detroit, yeah. So we were the family that we'd pray before and after meals.
And not during?
Not during. No, not during. If something really great happened, we would thank Jesus for it. No, but we had a devotion after every meal. Mm-hmm. We're the family that would pray at the restaurant before our meal.
I mean, I was raised Catholic, and we would pray for holidays and
right.
When there was more than just the 4 or 5 of us.
Sure, it'd be a bigger thing.
Yeah.
But see, my dad's a pastor, my grandpa's a pastor, my uncle's a pastor, a bunch of my aunts are teachers, like Christian teachers. So we all it's just how our family was, so I didn't think of it anything different than just what it was normally like.
Did you think you might be a pastor?
For never.
Yeah. A split never.
I never wanted to ever, because my dad, there's a certain type of person and a certain type of giving that you have to be a pastor, and I knew I was too selfish.
Yeah.
Because my dad it's the kind of thing, if somebody calls, my dad would have to go off and help them. My parents, when we lived in Chicago, we lived on a busy street, and we were in the parsonage, which is the house next to the church. And people would know that, so homeless people or people who were just, going through, walking past the church, who might not have any money, would come up to our doorstep and ask for food. And then my mom would never let them in the house because she had the kids, but she would always make them a plate of food and let them eat it on our front step.
Very sweet.
And so that's kind of stuff, and it's the kind of thing that you have to have such a huge faith that I tried to have it, but I didn't have it as strong as I think my dad.
Yeah.
The one thing, I'll tell this story, but a guy came to a church service. This was after I was probably in Chicago at the time, but a guy came to the church service with a gun.
Whoa.
And stopped the church service, and my dad quietly ushered him into one of the classrooms in the school and kind of talked him down until the police came. And
what was he doing with the gun? Did he say something?
I think he was just going through an emotional crisis and was going to come and shoot people.
Oh my God.
Or one of those things of have a gun and I don't really know what I'm going to do with it, but I have it and I think I might use it on himself or somebody else. Yes, exactly. And my dad took him and pretty much, saved people from that in the congregation, and then also had the faith that nothing was going to happen to him in that moment, or if it did, that was God's will, to be brave and not scared at all, and then able to talk that person down.
Wow. Well, that is brave of your dad, whether he thinks it's God's
exactly
will or not. It's pretty ballsy.
Yeah. So I think he's disappointed that none of the sons.
Well, one of them started a church. That's pretty close.
That's true. Yeah, you got it.
Right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that one of his regrets? I have a lot of things I regret. You guys aren't pastors.
Yeah, it might be. It might be. But
when did your parents meet?
my parents met.
Teenagers?
No, they were on a blind date. They got set up. So they got set up when my dad was in the seminary. She was a teacher. They were in St. Louis. And they got set up together, and she was teaching at the time, and he was still in the seminary. And I think they met, I want to say, in 70 or 71, like 2 or 3 years before I was born. Because it was a fast thing. Like, I think, they met, they courted each other for a year, and then got married, and then had me, and then he was a pastor in Minnesota.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're the oldest. That's so interesting. Did the younger ones look up to you?
I don't know.
Because it sounds like everybody's like pretty religious and nobody's entertainer or anything. Or...
No, but they are all funny. That's the thing.
Yeah, okay.
My family is funny. My aunts are funny. I have an Uncle Jerry, who's the funniest guy. He was a teacher. And so we all had good sense of humor, and like teaching is in a way a performance, and being a pastor too, you have kind of a performance element to it when you're giving your sermon, being in front, and so there's a little bit of it there. So I think I don't know if they look up to me.
Maybe not now, but
maybe I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I know that
sometimes you could tell.
I got in fights a lot with my brother Joel, who was 2 years younger than me, and then he would get in fights with my sister, who was 2 years younger than him, and then I would save her and protect her from him, and then she would be mean to our littlest brother, who's 10 years younger than me. So by that time, I was kind of like his babysitter.
Right.
So, yeah.
Did you feel responsibility as an older brother to 3 youngers?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I did. I remember a time like sticking up for my brother Joel. I don't even know if he knows about this, but I stuck up for him once because a really good friend of mine would always at high school would like be mean to him because he knew it was my brother, and he was just like would be. And then I remember one time finally being, "Hey man, that's my brother. Why are you bullying him? Stop."
Yeah.
And it was that was probably the one time I really felt like I had to do something.
And did it work?
Yeah, it did.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
See, that's like your dad with the gun guy.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Do your siblings watch Seth Meyers? Do they ever call you up and go, "Hey, I like that bit you did"?
Yeah, they do.
That's cool.
They my dad still also makes a best of reel.
For you?
My dad used to do film, like Super 8 film.
Uh-huh.
And he used to edit himself and make movies and stuff. He'd do stop animation with us as a kid. And
no kidding.
All
That's
that stuff.
That's like...
That was like his cool little hobby. He did that, and he had a giant train set, very, very like stereotypical pastor as a train set in the basement.
Right.
But he did that, and so when I got on SNL, he would find out which sketches were mine and then edit them out and then make like a best of John 2007, 2008 season.
That's really nice.
And so they all watch it, and yeah, they get a kick. Some scenes they are not as happy about.
Yeah.
Mostly my parents. I think my siblings are more cool with things. But yeah.
Well, that's really interesting that he did that not only for you but for himself. Like he would... Do you think that's part of the regrets that he thought, like he wanted to be like an entertainer or something like that?
He did magic as well.
You should bring him on the show, have him do a bit.
Oh, yeah. He would. I think he would do it, but I don't know if he'd enjoy it as much as, yeah.
I mean, he's jumping out of airplanes.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to try. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'm past that point.
I am past that point, too. I don't ever need to jump
Maybe it'll
out of a
come
plane.
Back around in my 70s or something?
Because you're so close to actually dying, maybe?
Is that it? I mean, if he's... Well, I'm an atheist, so if I don't have that faith of like, well, if it's God's will,
right.
It's cool, you know. I don't...
So it's more like, I got to stay alive as long as possible.
Yeah, exactly. That's so funny. How did you and Sue meet?
We met at the UCB Theater.
Oh, okay.
I came to see Lennon Parham in a show It was the Showgirls. They did a live Showgirls show.
Okay.
It was like a reenactment of Showgirls or a staged reading. And then I went backstage to congratulate her on the show and tell her how good it was. And then Sue was in the way back rehearsing with Julie Klausner in a show that they were doing. So it was just the two of us in the back, and then we started talking.
How long ago was this?
This was summer of 2006.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
12
Yeah, and then we had mutual friends, and she was good friends with someone who was dating Horatio at the time, who I was working with at SNL.
This is all in New York.
This is all in New York, and so Horatio had a barbecue, and his girlfriend was there, and she's like, "Oh, we should call Sue," and so they called Sue and said, "Hey, John's at this party," and so then she showed up at that
so
party.
There was already like
there was already a little something and then
going on.
and then they were like, "Oh, get them together." Yeah, and then I drove. We found out we lived 4 blocks away from each other.
Oh yeah.
And then about 3 months later, she found out that she was going to be doing extra work on 30 Rock.
You were already on.
And I was already doing, yeah.
Okay.
So she called me the day before and said, "Guess where I'm going to be tomorrow?" And I was like, "Where?" She goes, "I'm going to be shooting 30 Rock too." And so then we would go to work together when we would have scenes together and stuff like that. And it was really nice.
And then you make out in between
And then we
takes.
make out, yeah, and then put on our bear costumes.
Wow, so you guys hit it off pretty quickly, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it did help that we lived so close to each other, and
That's nice.
it was really fun.
How long did you guys date before you're like...
How long? I mean, we got married in 2009, so it was probably 2 years of dating and then a year of engagement.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less than a year.
It's pretty standard,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
How was your 5-year plan, by the way? How
It was, yeah.
How close was that?
It was not close. It was close. It was not totally close. 5 years. On my birthday, I was waiting tables and basically working at, first I was at the Olive Garden, then I was at Houlihan's, then I was at the Cheesecake Factory in the Hancock Building.
Mm-hmm.
And on my birthday, April 23rd, I said to myself, in 1 year I won't be working at this. I won't be waiting tables ever again. I'm done with this because it was awful.
Yeah.
And then a year after that, coming up on, it would have been 4 months after my 5-year plan was over. So it was 4 months, 5 years, 5 months.
5 years, 4 months.
Yes. It had been 5 years and a few months, and I got hired for the touring company of Second City.
Okay.
And then I was doing a show. It was an understudy, so I was going in, and I was going to be in a show on my birthday that 1 year later. So I was able to get on the main. Technically, I was on the main stage, performing a home show is what they called it, but I wasn't in the main stage cast.
Right.
So I kind of hit it.
Right. That's pretty good, though.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
And then didn't ever get on the main stage.
Yeah.
So
you got hired.
That's okay. Yeah, I got hired for Saturday Night Live, so that's not bad.
That's pretty
second
good.
choice.
And did you have to audition, or did they come see one of your shows? Is that how you auditioned?
For
Saturday Night Live?
Saturday Night Live, they were looking for writers specifically. They had just lost 2 writers, and they came and saw me in an improv show at Improv Olympic. Sharna had put together a showcase for people, but I wasn't asked to be in the showcase. And I was kind of mad about it.
Yeah.
And then one of my really good friends, Sue Salvi, who I toured with, and her husband, Paul Grandi.
Oh, yeah.
I was like bitching to them about it that afternoon.
Right.
Why didn't Sharon ask me to do this? This is stupid. She's
stupid.
She's dumb. She can make decisions about her own theater. She didn't listen to me. And they were like, you should just show up and ask Sharon to play. She probably didn't realize. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. And then I think both Sue and Paul were like, you can't miss this opportunity. Just show up. So I showed up early, and I went to Sharon and said, you need to put me in here. Please let me be in one of the acts of the show. And she's like, well, do you even write? They're looking for writers. And I had put up a sketch show in her theater that ran Fridays and Saturdays for almost 2 years.
So, it's her favorite.
Yeah, exactly. And so that I kind of wore her down, and she let me do the show. And then Steve Higgins, Mike Shoemaker were in the audience. Dennis McNicholas too, one of the other head writers at the time, and it was just a good show. And my goal was to make everybody look good. Yeah. Because those improv showcases are a shit show.
I know. They don't do them anymore because
they're a horrible mess of everyone panicking.
Yeah.
So my goal was like, I want to get somebody hired from here so that makes the theater better.
Right.
And then I'm going to make everybody look good and do like edits and like technical moves.
Right.
And then in that, I had a few really good scenes. I lucked out and had like a couple really good scenes, but then I also was just keeping it moving with like quick edits and tag outs, and I think I lucked out in that I wasn't in my head about it.
Yeah, well, you took the pressure off of saying, I'm not going to
get hired. I wasn't even asked to do this, so I might as well just have it be a good show so that the next time somebody comes around, Sharon will ask me to be in this stupid thing.
She'll be like, who are you again?
And then she'll be like, do you even improvise? And then...
You should take classes at our theater.
I will say that this is the cocky side of me. I did know that it was a good show after. I did know that I had a good show.
Yeah, you can feel
so
that.
I did go and sit at the bar up in the Del Close, and just like I knew it was a good show. And then Steve Higgins came up to me at the bar and then gave me his card and said, send me something in the next day. Send me your writing packet.
Did you have a writing packet?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I was very unprepared. But I went home, and I immediately cobbled together a bunch of scenes I'd written in my sketch shows and a bunch of scenes from Second City, and then I wrote a commercial parody, like a topical commercial parody. I don't even know what it was about. And I put it together and sent it to him the next day. So I stayed up all night and put it together.
Yeah.
Luckily, I did have something, but I just didn't have it with me, which I probably should have.
That would have put pressure on yourself.
Then it would put pressure on my... Exactly. And then they flew me and Liz Kukowski out the next week. And then they hired us that weekend and then wanted us to stay and start that next week.
Wow.
So within the course... We said... I actually was standing up in Jim Carlson's wedding.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, Jim.
So I had to go up to Lauren's table. They offered me the job. I celebrated for a little bit, and then I went up to Shoemaker and Higgins and said, I am in my best friend's wedding next weekend. Can I start in a week instead of on Monday? And so they were like, yeah, Lauren's very good about that kind of stuff. So they walked me over to Lauren's table.
Oh.
And said, hey, is it possible if he... And so the first thing that I did after getting a job is ask for time off, which is so...
Yeah.
I really should not have gotten the job.
But, I mean, when they ask people to be like, hey, drop everything in your life for tomorrow, that's a little
They understand to some degree. And Lauren is very romantic about. I don't know if romantic's the right word, but he's very. He understands important events. He understands weddings.
Yeah.
He's very funerals. Yeah, honeymoons, like things that are like events. He like will be like, it's fine, go do this. He will give you a wonderful present for your wedding.
Oh,
like. For our wedding, we showed up after our ceremony, got to the hotel room, and there was caviar and champagne waiting for us from Lorne.
Nice.
And the hotel was the kind of hotel that wasn't the kind of place that had champagne and caviar.
Okay.
So he made them go and get it and bring it in. And he's just very like
generous
that way. Yeah. So it was very lucky of me that he is that way.
Yeah.
When I first asked to do that. And Liz was kind of like happy about it too because we didn't have any clothes. We would have had to.
You have nowhere to stay.
We had nowhere to stay. We would have. Yeah, they would have put us up in a hotel, but we would have had like 2 days worth of clothes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But that's how it works. It's that fast.
Were you thinking like, oh, great, I'll be a writer, and then maybe I'll work my way into cast because that happens sometimes.
Yeah, I did a little bit, but not really. I'll tell. I did it shifted. I was told by one of the producers. They said, "Don't think of yourself as going to be a performer.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be a writer. Focus on that." And then over the summer, they were going to have me audition to be in the cast, but they didn't tell me. I found out from another person who was auditioning that I was also going to be auditioning, so I had to call up one of the assistants and said, "Hey, am I auditioning next week for the show?" Mm-hmm. "Oh, yeah, you are." And so
nobody told you.
Nobody told me. And it was a really bad audition.
What's the audition like for that?
Well, this one was different because it was in a comedy club.
Okay.
So we had an actual comedy club, and then you did your 5 minutes in front of a live audience,
which is your characters and
impressions and stuff. And then that's like the first one, and then the callback was in the studio. I didn't get to the callback part because my audition was so bad. But I was also like, but you guys told me I was supposed to focus on being a writer, and then didn't tell me I was going to audition until a week before. Yeah. So
you weren't really prepared.
I was not prepared.
Yeah.
It was bad. I auditioned a second time.
Okay.
And that time I felt that audition I was happy with.
Okay.
Still didn't get it. But by that point, I think I had solidified myself as a writer in their minds. So, and that was the year that like Sandberg and Hader and Wig and Sudeikis were all put in the cast.
Yeah.
So I was going up against a lot of really good performers, and yeah.
Do you remember what you did in your bad audition?
Yeah.
Impressions or whatever?
I did. I don't remember all of it, honestly. The one thing I remember that went really bad was that I have a character that's based off of my high school music conductor. And it's basically a bad jazz band song that we found where I'm conducting, and I really like this person playing the saxophone, but the drum solo keeps coming in. So it's me improvising like I'm angry because the drum keeps coming in. And the piece of music is just a really bad jazz band, high school jazz band, that definitely the drummer was the only one who really knew what they were doing.
Okay.
But he overtakes the song. So it's just me like doing that. And this always killed. This is something I did with those guys in the sketch show that was at Improv Olympic that Sharna didn't know existed. But the sound was messed up. So it was at a volume of about half. Like not even 1. It was like at a 0.5. And so I'm up there doing all of this.
Yeah.
These gesturing and doing the whole bit. And no one could hear the music. And so it's just like, looked like I was just pantomiming a crazy epileptic fit.
That sucks.
It really sucked.
That sucks. I mean, do you get the like? test that out before you do the show?
I did a couple times. I mean, we did test it out, but the performers were running each other's sound cues. That's the other thing. We had to be the ones. Yeah, that's right. Yes. And it was Jason Sudeikis who was in there. But no, I don't think there was any sabotage. It's just we were like, so you'll be running each other's lights. And it's just like, what? So the person either before or after you or around you, you would do their sound cues and things like that. It was really bizarre.
Why don't they just get like somebody else, just one person that's not...
you would think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, that stinks. So you're a dad now, right?
Yeah.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids.
Ages 5 and 3. You told me earlier. We were talking about the possibility of you getting a dog.
Yeah. We'll probably get one.
Because you're on the fence because
I love dogs. I love dogs. We had cats for a while. The 2 cats just passed away. A dog is another thing that wakes up real early and you have to go let them poop.
Right.
Our kids are not great sleepers, and we're just getting to the point where they kind of are now.
Okay.
And I don't want to add
a
bad sleeping thing into another creature that has to wake us up into the mix. So, Sue's family loves dogs. Their whole family has dogs. She grew up with dogs, and she really would love dogs. And it's a good name. We live upstate now. Upstate. We live in Westchester. It's not really that upstate. But we live just outside the city, so we have a yard.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people with dogs up there. Another creature to take care of is a lot.
Yeah.
And I know the second we'd get it, I'd love it.
Yeah.
We have had, there have been some rabid coyotes up where I live.
Okay. That's cute.
That killed a dog and bit 5 people.
Oh. That's not good.
Yeah. So that's suburban living outside of New York.
Yeah. Did you get nervous with your kids and coyotes and stuff?
We do get a little bit. Like there was our neighbor took a picture. She thought she saw a coyote because when you see him in the daytime, that's when you're like, But she took a picture of what she thought was a coyote that was right near. It's like 3 houses down from us. After they had walked home from a play date. She's like, okay, don't go back outside because I think this thing is out here, and took a picture of it. And I think it was a coyote. So,
that's creepy.
It's creepy.
It's a little creepy.
Yeah.
But going back to SNL, you were.
I want to talk more about the coyotes. No,
okay.
No. Yes, please go back to SNL.
What? You were there for 6 seasons?
It was like 6.5.
Yeah, because like the last season 35, at least on IMDb, you're credited for 2 episodes.
That's because I guest wrote.
Okay.
I went back and guest wrote for a couple shows. 1, 2, because when on SNL, kind of the cool thing about it as a writer is that you become kind of the producer of the piece that you write. And you kind of own the scenes that you write. You always write like for me, it was always writing the Trump stuff with Paula Pell. We would always write those, or the Twinkle and Stink, the ESPN guys that Jason Sudeikis and Will Forte played. John Solomon and I and those 2 guys wrote those, so we always would write those.
So good.
And so when they would want to do another one of those, they would ask me to come back.
Okay.
And write.
I see. Because they don't want to give it to new.
They don't want to give it to new people. It's kind of like a courtesy thing too. It's just like you get to come back and you write. Like if you you ever see, and then also the actors want to write with the people they know and that kind of stuff.
Like Hader just came back to host, and he had John Mulaney come back
to write Stefan. Yeah, because no one else is going to write Stefan like Mulaney does. Yeah. So it's that kind of thing. So that's why I was credited for those last 2 shows.
I see. Well, speaking of Trump, he was a host while you were working there, right?
Yeah.
How is that?
He's I'm going to go out on a limb here and say he's a garbage person. He was not nice.
Even back then?
Even back then, it was all about him, all about promoting him.
Yeah.
And if your scene wasn't about his new book, The Apprentice, or him, there was little to no chance that it was going to get in.
Yeah.
And he came in and we pitched ideas to him in our little tiny office, and he was so just rude.
Mm.
Like, I had an idea about this. There's this guy, it's this PBS guy who's like a stargazer. He gazes at the stars, and and it's a guy who talks about celestial lights, and here's what's happening in the sky tonight. And I told him about this idea, and I was talking about stargazing, and then he looked at me and goes, "So what is this? Star fucking? Am I a star fucker? Is that what I am?" And Liz, he thought that like a celebrity.
That the star was a celebrity?
Yeah, the stars were celebrities, is what he was thinking.
Doesn't know.
And Liz Kukowski had to be like, "Oh no, he means John's talking about the stars in the sky." So he was like aggressive to me about my pitch, but also totally in his own world about celebrity and fame, and he just. I think during the middle of Liz's scene when she wrote it, he was talking a lot, and halfway through he goes, "What are you trying to make me lose my voice?" That kind of stuff. There was a scene about his casinos in Atlanta not working out or something, and then he, at the end of the sketch, in the read, he goes, "Well, you just wait and see. Wait and see what happens there. You just wait and see." And it's just like, okay.
Oh my God, like he's being attacked.
Like he's being constantly attacked, and then to wait and see, they closed.
Yeah.
So nothing.
That's a very Trump standard.
But he was
form.
he was not a good, he was just a very self-absorbed, awful, same person he is today.
Why was he even there?
The Apprentice.
I mean,
and I think he was friends with Lauren. I think that like in the world of New York people, he was like in that world. He would come to shows sometime, and
because the schedule that SNL has is pretty intense, right? I mean, it's a pretty intense week.
Yeah,
there's a lot of staying up late and writing and this and that, and the hosting is part of that. Mm-hmm. Now, I can't imagine that he was part of that.
No, he wasn't.
So what was his schedule?
I mean, he was there as much as he needed to be. Mostly he came in to get pitched to, and then there for the table read, and then for rehearsals. I don't know if we even did like a video. We weren't doing like video pieces back then, so he wasn't in any pre-tapes or anything like that.
When you have like a guest like that, is it just the hardest week?
Yeah, like the hardest. He's the only host. Everybody has their own things. Some hosts are easier, some hosts are harder. But he's literally the only host that I will say I know is a bad person. Everybody else has their hang-ups. There's some people are harder to deal with than others. Some people aren't as good at the live aspect of things. Yeah. Some people are way better. Some people are nicer than you ever thought they'd be. Some people you think would be nice aren't that nice. But no one was ever like... You could feel the badness, which is why the next season was when Paula and I started writing those Trump sketches where he would be doing promos and
with Daryl Hammond.
Yeah,
those were so good. My favorite. Did you write the Dominios, the
yes.
Dominoes? Oh, that's it might be my all-time favorite.
Because he did it, and then he did a commercial. It was like this snake eating its own tail. We were making fun of him, and then I think he made fun. We made fun of the Domino's commercials he was doing, and then he did something about us making fun of him, and I was just like, oh, "What do you do? What is happening?"
And that wasn't even Twitter back then.
No, there wasn't.
There's no Twitter back then.
Yeah. Dominios. Those were the most fun things to write with Paula. 100%.
Those are so fun.
The highest quality pizza of the low quality pizzas.
I just showed that to my girlfriend recently. I was like, this is the best.
It really is.
Because on Hulu, they have seasons 1 through 5, then 30 to present.
Right.
So I've been like rewatching some of the 30 to present ones, and they're so funny.
And Daryl was so funny doing those. And I'm not a big fan of like big fake like outfits as far as comedy goes, because I'm always like, that's just, you're kind of just, you should let the comedy speak for itself. But with Trump, I was like, he has to have a big fake pizza slice on him because he would think that that is funny.
Yeah.
And it's he's so gross.
Do you miss SNL?
No.
Okay.
I do miss the people.
Yeah.
I miss the people I worked with. There was the cool thing of like getting to watch a live band that, you know, having like U2 right there, or Pearl Jam, or Arcade Fire, whoever was there that week was really cool. It's like getting a live mini concert because you'd be on the floor watching them. But the schedule is just ridiculous, and I was doing 30 Rock and SNL at the same time, so there were times where I just wasn't ever sleeping.
Oh, jeez.
So now the schedule we have with Seth is like 9:30 to 7, and that's glorious.
Yeah, and that's a long day too.
That's a long day, but it's like but it's every day, same day.
Yeah, it's predictable.
Weekends are free, and it's,
Do you get Fridays off?
We get Fridays off too, yeah.
That's nice. That is nice. And then when you got 30 Rock, so Tina, I guess she just asked, did she just cast all her friends and stuff?
Tina asked me when we were in the writer's room of SNL, she's like, hey, I'm doing this pilot. Would you want to be an extra in it? Because we're looking for people who we know are performers, because we may want to give you a line, but we're not sure. And I was like, yes, 100%. And then did it, and, you know, didn't have any lines in the pilot, but then the second episode they gave me a line. So It was like, it was well worth it to be an extra in the pilot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like one of those opportunities that's just like, if Tina Fey's asking me to do something, why would I say no to that?
Yeah. So did you stop doing SNL because you were like, well, I gotta give up something here?
I gave up. Sue and I got married in 2009, and she was like, you should at least stay at SNL one more year after we get married, so we at least have a full-time job because 30 Rock was never full-time for me. It was always sometimes.
Right.
And I couldn't live off of what 30 Rock was if I just did 30 Rock.
Right.
I would have to do something else. But by that last season, I had to stop one or the other. I couldn't do both anymore because there was times where I would be up for 48 hours going back and forth from job to job. It'd be like, get on a train, go to Silver Cup, shoot a scene, get back on the train, come back and write all night, get on the train and go shoot a scene at 30 Rock, at Silver Cup, come back here for the read-through.
That's crazy.
And I would just be, I had like a mental breakdown.
Did you really?
There was one time I was crying in a dressing room with Sue because I was like, I can't do this. I can't. She's like, okay, you haven't slept for 2 days. This makes sense.
Yeah.
You can do this in here with me, but when you walk out that door, you cannot do this.
Man up.
You have to be, it literally was. And she was like, you cannot show people that. And I still probably look like you know, a zombie when I was out there. But she was right. I couldn't. She helped me get through that.
Did you write some weird sketches?
Yeah, I think I wrote weird sketches, and I don't think any of them got picked because of it. Those weeks were always like, I don't think I'm going to get anything on this week.
Something's wrong with John's writing.
Yeah. It's not really making any sense. It's turning into a weird, surreal, like, dream halfway through. Yeah.
You also had guest hosts on SNL? Like, you had Al Sharpton. Were you there for that one?
I was not there for Sharpton.
Okay,
he was there the right before I got there.
Right before, okay. Like Lance Armstrong, Paris Hilton. So you have a lot of, like, non-performers, really.
Yes.
How'd they do?
Well, like, it's, you know, half and half. Like Paris Hilton, not great.
Yeah.
She's pretty much what she is. But then
Female
like
Donald Trump.
no, she's close. Yeah. But then like somebody like Peyton Manning,
Right.
I wrote the dancing coach sketch with Forte.
Yep.
And then I had 3 sketches in that Peyton Manning episode. And he was great. That was the first time Penelope was around, the character that Kristen Wiig did that was like the one-up person. And then I did another scene with him and Wiig sitting on a porch.
Right.
And so that was one of my best shows ever, was 3 scenes with Peyton Manning, and they all did well.
Yeah.
So it always depends. Sometimes you'll get the best actor in there, and they overthink everything, and it's not.
Yeah. Is that like Robert De Niro? Something like
Robert
that?
De Niro, yeah, he's not made for live television, I don't think.
Yeah.
But he did a scene of mine that he was a cat lady talking about Christmas and had 20 live cats around him when he was dressed as an old woman. So he was up for it. One of my favorite things ever was standing in his dressing room as they're dressing him up as an old woman, showing him how, because I had to cut like 2 pages out of the scene on the fly right before it was on the air, and I was just showing him the changes. And it was like, I'm in a dressing room with Robert De Niro as he's getting dressed up as to be a cat lady, and I made this happen. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's so funny. By the way, that Peyton Manning I watched earlier today, that dance.
Yeah.
It is so funny.
Forte's so funny in it.
He is so committed to that dance. If you go see it on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Because when you watch it, the rest of the male cast is there. Everybody just starts breaking up.
Yeah, well, that's the best he ever did it too. He sometimes when you do that show, like the dress rehearsal's better, or earlier, like on Thursday, it's better. He kept getting better and better, and then that was the best that was ever performed. So he's making Keenan just
Bill.
was, they couldn't hold it in. It was great.
Peyton.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's so funny. I saw Will at Largo last year, maybe earlier this year, and it was for like a fundraiser or something. He comes out and he does that spelling bee kid thing. But so he just he gets a word and he just says all these letters. He must have done it for like 8 minutes.
Yeah, he goes so long.
For 8 minutes.
So long.
Where people in the audience are going, please stop.
Yeah.
They're literally saying,
he likes to get
stop.
to the point where it's not funny anymore for a long time, and then it gets funny again.
He did it.
Yeah.
It happened. It was really, really funny. All right. As nerdy improv questions.
Yeah.
On your IMDb, it has a couple of credits of like the Armando.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. I
Directed
really
by
don't.
Doug Close,
It's like some. They must have filmed in Armando Diaz.
Like it was going to be a pilot.
Like it was going to be a pilot, or was something. I've never seen what that is. I don't know what show it was. I don't remember any of that, but it's on there.
Okay.
So look for that too.
Somewhere. Well, and the JTS Brown.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. That was that show we did. I don't remember it ever being. Maybe it was recorded for a
possible pilot too.
No, it might have been for a festival, some improv festival that was happening.
Oh, okay.
The IFC, or is it IFC? Improv Festival Comedy? No. Improv Comedy. I don't know. I really don't know.
That's so funny because like...
Yeah. Those two things were... I don't remember. I saw that too, and I'm like, I don't remember what that is.
Because the JTS Brown is a improv form.
Yeah.
And the directors are credited as Craig Kikowski and Mick Napier.
Yeah, and they were the directors
Yeah.
of our show, but I don't know if they ever directed a TV version of it.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
You also helped write the 66th Emmy Awards.
Yes.
What's that like? How does that work?
That's not much work for sketch writers.
Yeah.
Because Seth was hosting it, and he brought us out, and basically all we did was, I did try to write some monologue jokes, but I'm not good at them.
Okay.
I think eventually I got 2 intros, like she says she's from this, and this guy does this joke thing, and here they come. I think I got 2 of those in.
Okay.
But yeah, that was basically us having to be there just to if we were needed. Because Pete Gross and I were up on stage there if anything topical happened during the show. And I think at one point we decided to cut a joke because something had happened earlier, and that was the only thing we really did. Because when it all boiled, honestly, hosting one of those shows isn't easy, but it really is top-heavy in that it's a monologue, and Seth doesn't do musical numbers, so it's just a big, long monologue. I think there were 2 video pieces that were already taped, and then all the intros, and that's pretty much it. And when I make intros, it's like whatever Seth says. When the hosts, when the 2 celebrities are out there talking about the next award, that's written by people who are union writers for just those things. Oh. So we don't even have to write that banter. Oh, we never would write the banter for the actual celebrities. Unless they specifically asked, unless it was Polar, and she was like, "Can you write something for me?" But it literally was they had 3 writers who I've worked with on multiple award shows that are just the banter people.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do Seth? You guys know each other from Saturday Night Live, obviously. When he started doing this, did he ask you, or did you have to apply or something?
No, I got real lucky. I was walking. We were coming from, I think it was Michael Bryan's birthday party, and it was me and Pete Gross walking with him, finding out that he got this. And I was just like, that's amazing. That's awesome. And then Pete said something like, well, if you need a writer. And I didn't say that. I was just, because I wasn't even thinking about that. I just thought it was cool. And it was like, that's a perfect move for Seth to do a show like this. And then Shoemaker and Seth called me in to interview me and said, we're offering you a job. Here's what it'll be.
Wow.
And this was after I had already taken another job in L.A.
Which was?
Writing for Playing House on USA. Okay. With Jessica St. Clair and Lennon Parham.
Right.
And luckily it all worked out because Seth's show wasn't going to start in December, and this show that I was going to write for was happening over the summer. So Sue, myself, and Daniel and the 2 cats moved to L.A. for 4.5 months and then moved back here to start up late night.
It's a lot of moving.
It's too much moving.
I know. That stuff's hard.
That's why I don't want to move anymore.
Yeah.
Got a house and I'm going to just stay there.
In Westchester, you're done.
Yeah. I'm going to open up an improv theater up there. And
Really?
No.
Oh.
But Sue might. Sue's talked about it. I don't think I don't think I have what it takes to.
Is there improv up there?
There isn't, but there's a lot of improvisers up there. I don't know. You know Ed Herbstman? Have you ever heard of him? He was around. He was like a teacher at Improv Olympic when I was there, and then Miriam Tolan and Brian Stack live up by us.
I'm interviewing Brian tomorrow.
Oh, great! Say hi from me. He lives 2 towns up from where I live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go over my notes. You were in a fraternity in college.
Yeah.
How was that? Is that from the partying?
That's the partying.
Partying stuff.
That was the partying stuff.
What was your go-to party vice? What was the problem?
I just would drink too much. There are many, many stories. I just drank too much. I mean, I was the kind of guy who I remember getting a bottle of Southern Comfort and a 2-liter of Coke and just walking around and drinking it. But I had a shot glass because I just wanted to make sure I was still doing shots. And then I passed out on my shot glass. And then woke up and had a basketball-sized bruise on my leg from having passed out on a shot glass.
That's not good.
No. I had a chalice called the Bell Ringer, which was just a big goblet of thing that I would walk around and drink beer out of.
Do you still drink like that?
No.
Do you still drink?
I do drink, yeah.
You're there. So
but
you had your phase and you're like...
I had my phase. I can't do that anymore. Yeah. I had 2 beers last night, and I'm kind of hungover today.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's better that way.
Yeah, I think so too.
Are you still doing your show with Scott?
Yeah, he's out of town. He's in LA right now, but he's coming back. We have a show in April. I just did a show with Pete Gross last night, 2 Square at
Yeah, I wish I'd known about it.
yeah, but Scott and I have a show next month, and the 13th of May.
13th?
Yeah, I think so, something like that.
I won't be here.
But yeah,
I saw you guys a few months ago. In here at UCB, I saw the
John
and Scott show.
That's right. Holy cow! Wait, you were here? Did I say hi to you?
No.
Or no? Oh, okay. I never remember after the show. It's kind of a blur.
No. I just went in, saw the show, and left. I sat next to Scott's girlfriend.
Oh, sure, Sandy. Yeah,
she's really nice.
Yeah,
she's really nice.
That's great.
So, one of my favorite things that you did recently for Seth Meyers' show is it's spring in the city.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so funny because it was still snow. It was the first day of spring, and it snowed like 2 feet or something.
Yeah.
And so you did a bit of like pretending it was actually spring. So you dressed and did spring.
I had sandals on and the polo and
a foot of snow.
Yeah, that was really fun because that was written the day before. And then I almost didn't come into work that day because up where I live, it was like a foot of snow, and the power went out the last storm. This is like the 4th storm that hit us. So I was like concerned that our power was going to go out again, and then have to get the kids out and shovel the driveway and all that. But then it was snowing here, and they were like, we want to shoot it in the snow. So I came in. And I'm so glad we did. It was one of those things that was written and shot and put on the air in about a day, which was really fun.
And it was very timely.
Yes.
It had to be.
Yeah, exactly.
At least, if you're in New York, you got it.
Yeah, although the audience, I think, was a bunch of tourists. So they all were like, it's not what we expected for spring.
Was it torture to film that, though?
It wasn't. It was real fast. It wasn't that cold, luckily. It was.
You're sitting on the ground and stuff.
Yeah, but my pants did get very wet. Yeah.
That's funny. And I like your other character that seems to be recurring is the leave him alone guy.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
That was a bit in the room.
Okay.
Where the writer's room where people would make fun of somebody like Chris Christie, and I'd just be like, leave him alone. He's just trying his best. And then from there, it became about me making fun of myself and being a weirdo. But I think the first one we did was Jeb Bush, because I think it was also from the idea that Jeb Bush was really just people were making so much fun of him.
Mostly Trump.
Yeah, mostly, yeah. And it was just like relentless, and it was just like, leave him alone. He's fine. He's okay. Why are we being so mean to him? And then we've done it a lot. Some people love that thing, and some people hate him, that character. They do not like that character, some people.
How do you know?
The comments on every once in a while I read the comments under a video.
Okay.
And it'll be like, ugh, I hope I never see this again. Oh, they should never do this again. And then somebody will be like, they've done it 10 times. Yeah.
When you pitch something like that or the Springtime in the City, and do you pitch yourself in it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that hard to do? Or
no, that's kind of what he wants us to do.
Okay.
Because he knows that Amber, myself, a couple of other people, Ben, are performer writers, so he trusts us to cast who we think should be the best people in it. So when I wrote the spring thing, I said, hey, there was a sketch meeting coming up, and I was like, hey, should I do this for sketch or should I do it now? Because I could write it up and turn it in today. She's like, we should do it now. So we wrote it together real fast and then showed it to Bays, and then he showed it to Seth, and then within that amount of time it was like approved. Okay. So yeah, I tend to cast myself in stuff because I know that if I'm right for the part, and it's easier for me to write.
Yeah. And then perform it and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you like working for Seth?
I love it. It's great. He's a good boss.
You sure?
Yes.
Just kidding.
100%. That'll change after I leave the job. I'll change my... No, he's great. Him and Shoemaker are the best.
He seems like a really...
It's a really good environment to work in.
Yeah, that's nice. Do you think you'll stay here for as long as...
I'll stay here as long as I can.
Yeah.
Especially with the family and the house. It's like... I don't want to move my kids again.
Yeah.
They're starting school. I don't want to take them out of school. I don't like LA as much as I like here. So if I can stay here forever, that'd be great.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, but that's my goal.
Do you still want to get acting jobs?
Yeah, and I do here and there. And I write stuff for myself and try to get some of that stuff going. But, they're cool. The good thing about Seth and Shoemaker is they know I'm an actor too. So if I get something, they let me go and do it.
Yeah. That's nice.
So they've let me go off and shoot things here and there, and it's not a big deal, which is really nice.
What was your wedding like to Sue? Was it a big thing?
It was big. It was nice.
A lot of improvisers and bits going on?
A lot of improvisers, a lot of bits. Yeah, it was good. It was at her place. Her parents' place have a big property, so we had a big tent and a live band.
Where's that place?
It's in outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And, it was just really nice. It was a really beautiful day. We had a lot of our friends there and family, and it was really laid back, but also really fun. Because we had like, everything was kind of just like we didn't have any formal things really.
Yeah.
We did the ceremony, and then it was like, now the food's out, here are the stations, go eat if you want, go drink if you want, music's going to play the whole time, and that's going to be it.
Yeah.
We didn't do any of the like step-by-step things you have to do, like cut the cake and all that kind of stuff and things.
Were you nervous about asking her?
Oh, yeah.
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 Did you plan it?
I planned it, and it didn't go well. Well, it did fine, but I was just a little nerdy about it.
What'd you do?
Well, I wanted to do it in a place up in upstate where we went a lot, and I had a big puffy coat on, and when I got down on my knees, I just looked like a big mush of like a big puff ball, because it was kind of cold out, and I said, and it was just me in a big looked like a Oompa Loompa asking her to marry me. So I wasn't happy with like the romantic side of it.
Okay. That's funny.
But she still said yes, so
That's
that was
nice
good.
Of her.
Yeah.
She didn't give you a do-over?
No.
That's funny. Well, how are we doing on time? Do you know?
Oh, I think it's right about there.
Right about there? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. I'm glad we could finally do it. I know
Me
you've
too.
been asking me to do it for a long time, and it just kind of worked out. Nice.
I didn't want to be too overbearing about it.
That's
or
great.
Like that. But thank you so much. You want to plug anything? You're only on Twitter, right? You're not on
only on Twitter. Shut up,
else?
Lutz. Nothing really right now. There's
Seth
a couple
Myers.
things coming down the pipeline, but that's always what happens, and then they go away. But yeah, Late Night with Seth Myers, and can come see me at the UCB Theater in New York, doing either Two Square or John and Scott. Just check the website, and you'll see when we're doing shows. We do them once a month.
Do you do ASCAT sometimes?
I do every once in a while, but that's more. The last one I did was with Mark Hamill.
Oh,
so that was pretty cool.
Where was that?
That was at the old UCB. That was like a couple months ago.
Oh wow,
it's really cool.
Hamill. How
yeah,
did you get Mark Hamill? That's
well,
amazing.
he's friends with Anthony Antamanik.
Oh wow, that's
of course,
great.
of course,
of course.
A weird thing, but that was really super cool. I don't, with the kids, I don't get. It's hard for me to justify going to do a free improv show.
Yeah. Are you going to do the? I just bought a ticket for the 20th. Del Close anniversary. That's going to be at Carnegie Hall.
I don't think I'm going to do that. They usually don't ask me to do those bigger ones. They usually have people who are, since I was like a IO person who came into UCB, they usually ask the people who are like UCB people,
Gotcha.
Which is fine because there's
Pure
a
blood.
lot of them.
Pure bloods.
Yeah, pure bloods. Yes, purebred improvisers. Yeah.
I also saw, real quick, I saw online you're a fan of Catan?
Yeah.
Is that
I haven't played it in a long time.
I don't know it very much. Do you like stuff like that?
I do. I don't play enough. Since I've had kids, I don't play and do anything.
Do you think you could show your kids? You can show your kids.
I will eventually. He will. I bet Danny will. I bet my son will like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to have big Scotch and Settlers parties where it would be like we would drink scotch and then we'd play 4 or 5 games of Catan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you do D&D too?
No, D&D. Didn't do that because that was back in the day when it was satanic. And the pastor's kids, you don't do that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
That weird thing.
And they should do it just for rebellious.
I know.
Hey, Dad, guess what I'm doing?
Yeah, I'm helping people kill orcs. He wouldn't know what that means.
Well, hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
And best of luck to you and all your endeavors.
Yeah, and best of luck with you with your new 2 puppies.
Thank you very much. I need it. I need it for sure. And scene.
There you go, folks. That was my talk with the great John Lutz. Thank you so much, John, for your time and your great stories and hanging out with me and spending time with me. That was a lot of fun. So now for some plugs. I usually do the plugs in the beginning, and I forgot. So now for plugs. Follow me on Twitter at EJ Scott and at EJ Podcast. My website, ejscott.com. I'm on Instagram, EJScott1106. I have some public Facebook accounts and a documentary called Running Blind on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon. Digital copies only are available, and that's about me running 12 marathons in 12 months in 2012 blindfolded because I am losing my eyesight to a degenerative genetic eye disease called choroideremia, and my grandfather went blind from it, and my brother has it, and I have 2 little nephews that also have it. So I'm always trying to raise awareness and money for that. So for $2 or $3, you can go and rent or buy it on a digital copy of it and check it out, and the money will go to paying for that documentary, which was a little costly. So there you go. What else? I guess that's about it. You can subscribe to future podcasts on iHeartRadio or on iTunes. Please do. I have a lot of good stuff coming up. As I said, that Brian Stack one will be the next podcast, and that was a lot of fun to talk with the great Brian Stack. And I have some future ones. I have one in the can with Vincent D'Onofrio, the great Vincent D'Onofrio. I'm going to hold on to that one until the next season of Daredevil comes out because I think he may have revealed something in it that he maybe was not supposed to. I'm not positive, so I'm just playing it safe and going to release it after the show comes out the next season. So I have a lot of good ones coming up. So go subscribe and check out my past podcasts if you haven't already. There's lots and lots of good stuff there. And thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.